went back and tracked her father down. He tracked him down in Ireland, and she went back and saw him. And I think she realized very quickly that whether he had been there or actually the way things went, that she didn't see him for 25 years, it wouldn't have made a huge difference. He was an emotionally sort of scarred man who couldn't express, who couldn't be... He would never have been the kind of father that she was hoping for anyway. So I think once she realized that, she made peace with the whole experience, and she actually ended up taking care of him until his last days. She was a British subject, but she was born in Belgium and spent the entire war in Holland. And they believed it would be a far safer place than England because it was a neutral country. Unfortunately, it was one of the first countries to be invaded and one of the last ones to be freed. So it was not as, for children, it's not so much, you know, not having all the things to eat that you're used to, whatever. It's that loss of freedom. Having someone there, this sort of fear of having someone else controlling your life and people dying and being under someone else's control that they remember the most.
Seriously, Audrey, tell us about the war. You spent the whole war in Arnhem.
Yes.
Wasn't it pretty awful?
Yes, it was very bad.
But did you entertain the people there yourself? Is that how you began?
No, not quite how I began. I went to ballet school once I knew I was settled there for quite a while. Didn't know how long the war was going to last, so I went to a ballet school and learned to dance. And in about 1944, about a year before the end of the war, I was quite capable of performing. And it was a sort of some way in which I could make some contribution, and I did give performances to collect money for the underground, which always needed money.
And what about the Germans? What did they do about it?
Let's know about it.
She studied ballet throughout the war, and when the war was over, they went to London. They had lost everything, so they were scraping together enough to get a ride over from Holland. My grandmother was concierge in the building, washing the stairs and taking care. My mom went to, actually I think she went over first and started going to school with Marie Rambert, who was the sacred monster of ballet at the time. She had taught Nijinsky and so forth. After a short while, and after my grandmother came over, she asked Marie, she said, well, is there a chance for me to be a prima ballerina? And Marie was very nice about it and said, well, you can always teach here. You'll probably make a better career as a second ballerina, but no, I don't believe you're too tall, too big for the dancers to pick up. The war and the lack of nutrition and proper training and muscle development, all of these things taken into consideration. And my mother trusted her. Well, I think that especially at that young age, it was a terrible sinking and crashing feeling to not be able to have a career as a dancer. But then there wasn't much time to sort of sit there and feel bad about yourself. And it also wasn't part of her education. She sort of came from a very Victorian background, so you just get on with it. And then, you know, she got this little bit part in a remake of a film called Monte Carlo Baby. And she was in the south of France shooting, and Colette was there resting in the same hotel after having come back from New York, where she had just made a deal to turn Gigi into a musical.